Today we are going to be making a nostalgic childhood treat, homemade caramel apples. What's up, Metabolic Living family? Welcome to the ML YouTube channel. My name is Bella. I'm the lead nutritionist and recipe developer here. When I embarked on this sugar-free, healthy food lifestyle, I honestly thought that I'd never probably be able to eat something like a caramel apple again. Packed usually with high-fructose corn syrup, all sorts of weird waxes. I don't even want to know what they are. And sometimes even artificial food colorings. No, thank you. The good news is that one of my favorite things to do is recreate traditional, not so healthy recipes with healthy versions of them. And today we're going to be doing that with caramel apples, perfect for this time of year. So for this recipe, you are going to need 6 big old juicy apples, preferably organic. Of course, you are going to need to hold them, and to make them very traditional, you're going to need some large toothpicks. You can also use some lollipop sticks, whatever works best for you. You are going to need a 1/4 cup of ghee. For my vegan friends, obviously, so I don't know if you guys know about ghee, but it's actually lactose and casein free, making it very easy on the stomach. However, if you are a very strict vegan, you can use like a coconut oil here, or even better, if you can find a clean like vegan butter alternative, that's going to work really nicely as well. A 1/4 cup of sweetener of your choice. I do like to use the Lakanto monk fruit sweetener. Now they also do have a brown variety, which is going to make these look very traditional if you can find it at your grocery store. You're going to need 1/2 cup of organic full-fat coconut milk. Make sure that it is the one from the jar, because the regular one in the carton is not going to be thick enough to give our caramel a really good texture. You're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and then lastly 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt. Now if you do want to make these almost like a salted caramel, feel free to increase the salt as you desire. And then lastly, you're going to need something to coat those candy apples with. I personally love chopped nuts to coat my candy apples. A lot of people traditionally use peanuts, but I prefer to use pecans. You could also use some shredded coconut, some chopped chocolate, whatever honestly you fancy, whatever is traditional and delicious for you. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, what you need to do, and this is a great little hack if you've ever made caramel apples at home. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. What a really great thing to do is to dip these apples into boiling hot water and then just dry them off before you get started. What this is going to do is remove some of that waxy outside and make them a lot easier to coat. This really helps the caramel to stick onto the apple and make it really authentic and delicious. Alrighty, so my apples are all dipped and dried. Now it is time to skewer them. So I'm going to be using these long toothpicks today. So quite simply, just pop them into the top of the apple and press down. Just make sure they're in there nice and secure. And then you can just put them onto a baking tray. So what you're going to do is grab a large baking tray like so and pop on a silicone liner. If you guys have watched my videos before, you know that I absolutely love using silicone rather than being wasteful and using parchment paper and things like that. Plus it's just so much easier to clean. You can pop this thing in a dishwasher and you are good to go. So like I said, just add the skewers into the apples and pop them on the tray. You do have to press down quite hard to make sure they're really in there nicely. As I mentioned, you can also use lollipop sticks if you fancy it as well. This just brings back really fun memories for me as a child. We would have like full parties and we'd make all sorts of goodies, and caramel apples were definitely one of them. Gorgeous. So these are looking good. Now what I'm going to do is pop these off to the side and we are going to make our caramel. Now what's really special about this caramel is that it not only doesn't use high fructose corn syrup and all sorts of other weird things that you can't even pronounce, but this caramel is actually refined sugar free. It is dairy, well, it's lactose and casein free, and it's really delicious. I love to use this honestly on so many things, everything from making actual caramels to these caramel apples to even honestly using it as a pancake syrup. I know that's a little bit weird, maybe I shouldn't say that, but bottom line is this is really versatile. You can use it in so many healthy healthy recipes, and the caramel itself is actually ketogenic. So if you're someone following a ketogenic lifestyle and you're kind of put off by the fact that we're using apples here today, just know that you can still make this caramel and you can utilize it for all sorts of fun different things. So what you're going to do is grab a medium-sized saucepan, and you are going to add in a 1/4 cup of ghee to your saucepan. We're also going to add our sweetener. So I am using the Lakanto monk fruit sweetener. As I mentioned, if you guys can get your hands on the golden, it's like golden monk fruit sweetener, that's going to make these look really authentic. I sadly couldn't find any at my store, so I'm just going to use the white, but that works still perfectly well. So popping that in there, I would say a 1/4 cup. That's kind of my standard recipe for this. However, if you are someone who's maybe newer to a healthy lifestyle and you do like things really quite sweet, feel free to add a little bit more. On the other hand, if you're someone who doesn't usually consume sugary things, sugary treats, feel free to scale back a bit. This is about finding what works for you and your family. So what you're going to do, put those two things in there together, give it a little stir like so. I love ghee and I love that sweetness. So this is like really naughty but yummy. Anyway, I'm going to pop this onto the stove, medium heat. What you're going to do is bring this up to the boil. You're going to let it boil for about 3 minutes. Be really, really careful you don't burn this. So do keep an eye on it at all times. Don't be distracted. Don't go get a cuppa. Don't go chat with your husband, whatever you're doing. Keep an eye on it. Make sure it doesn't burn. Bring it up to the boil on medium, 3 minutes. All right, this has been boiling away nicely. It's really starting to thicken. It's actually started to go a little bit of a golden color. It's looking perfect. So now what we're going to do is pop in our coconut milk, 1/2 cup. Mine's actually really thick this time around, which is interesting. Sometimes I find that it comes out of the can really liquidy and sometimes really thick, even if you don't put it in the fridge or do put it in the fridge. Weird. Anyway, pop that in there and then give it a stir to combine. It should just melt nicely because the mixture's still really, really hot. So just stir, stir, stir until that coconut milk has started to mix in. It's starting to get really creamy and thick and gorgeous, just like a caramel should be. As I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit lighter in color than a traditional caramel because, as I mentioned, we're not using all the junk, even like artificial colors. Can you believe they put artificial colors in like caramel apples? Like, what is the point in that? I just don't understand. Anyway, keep going. Keep going until it's all whisked in beautifully. Okay, we're looking great. All right, now that is all in nicely. Let's give this a try. What I would love you to do is sprinkle your 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum over the top and also your salt. Then what you're going to do is bring this back up to the boil for about 1.5 minutes. So put it back on the stove top. So I'm going to sprinkle my xanthan gum over the top. This is really just to thicken it even further. Just kind of sprinkle it. Gorgeous. And then I'm going to add that salt. Brilliant. So go and pop this onto your stove, bring it up to the boil 1 minute, and then we're going to meet it back here. Okay, this caramel looks absolutely freaking awesome. Look, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's so thick and just like perfect coating, and it tastes really good. I definitely have had like a few spoonfuls of this, I'm not going to lie. It's like liquid gold. It's amazing. Anyway, what you're going to do is grab an apple and you're just going to dip it and twirl it, just coating as much as possible, and then pop it back onto the baking tray. You just want to try and maybe coat all the apples and then just pop it in the fridge for about 3 minutes or so. So you want it to be a little bit warm, but not like completely liquid. So make sure you're twirling them beautifully. It's very satisfying twirling them, I think. All right. Keep it going. You want all that delicious caramel on there. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Hopefully you guys can see this nice and clearly. Just the little twirling action there of the wrist. Pop that on. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And one more. Fabulous. All right. So as I mentioned, just put these in the fridge very, very briefly, maybe like 3 minutes until it's just kind of stuck a little bit more to the apple. Then we're going to dunk them. So now our caramel has thickened nicely and cooled a little bit. It's time to pop on our pecans. So quite simply, you can either roll it in, but I actually prefer to just move the apple slowly as I just sprinkle it on like so. As I mentioned, you can do some bigger pecan pieces and some smaller ones. Honestly, just whatever you fancy. This is your apple. It might be quite fun to even make like a candy apple bar, and especially if you have kids or grandkids, and they can kind of go along and design their own. So when it's ready, just pop it on a plate. Maybe I'll show you guys like this. Pop it on a plate like so, and just repeat with all of the apples until you're ready to rock. And there we go. We have got ourselves some caramel apples. All you have to do is kind of just let these firm up, and then honestly you guys can tuck in. It's that easy. I hope you guys love this recipe as much as I do. Really, really fun one. If you get creative with what you're putting on your apples, I would love to see pictures. It's one of my favorite things when you guys send in pictures to us or post pictures on in the comments. Love, love, love to see your guys' creations. So please enjoy these. Happy holidays. And thanks so much for hanging out with me. While you're here, if you did like this video, please be sure to give us a little thumbs up. Again, comment in the comments. Always love to hear your thoughts and feedback. And also make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to our Metabolic Living YouTube channel. We are also on all sorts of other social media platforms. We are on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok now. So pop on over to those and give us a follow. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Again, thank you so much for cooking with me in this video. Have an absolutely fabulous day, and I will see you all very, very soon with another recipe video.